Welcome to the Author Show, where we always present new authors and books, from fiction to self-help and everything in between. You name it, and you will find it here. To watch the TV version of the show, visit authorswebtv.com. That's authorswebtv.com. And now, let the show begin.
Hello, and welcome back to the show. This is your host, Don McCauley. Today we're welcoming to the program author Sherrie Palm, and Sherrie is the author of Pelvic Organ Prolapse, The Silent Epidemic. Sherrie wrote the book as part of a campaign to create much-needed awareness about an extremely common female health issue that's really still kept behind closed doors. Sherrie, how are you?
I'm doing great today, Don. How's your morning going?
Just great, just peachy. Well, first of all, I think we need to clear up. What is pelvic organ prolapse?
This is an extremely common female health issue. Like you said, it's still in the closet. There are several organs in the female pelvic cavity that can drop down out of their normal positions, and when they do that, it creates different symptoms for women. 5 different types of POP exist. Women can have any combination of these types of POP, many levels of severity with this health issue. And so women, since they're not familiar that this condition even exists, they have these symptoms. They have no idea what's going on with their bodies. Thus, the need to get the word out about this health issue.
Well, why is it in the closet?
There are some symptoms that come with this health issue that are extremely yikes and embarrassing for women to discuss with even their physicians or their husbands. So that's why it's in the closet. Women can have, it's not just urinary incontinence issues. There can be fecal incontinence. There can be sexual dysfunction. So because of those types of symptoms, women are just not comfortable talking about this health issue. And again, it gets pushed into the back, and they won't even discuss it when they go in to see their doctors. So I'm banging the drum trying to get women to talk about it and get the topic out there so that it's common knowledge for women.
Well, what are some of the other symptoms?
Well, there are many symptoms involved with this, and women can have any combination of these symptoms I'm going to mention here. The one that came to my attention that made me know something was wrong was it felt literally like my guts were falling out my bottom end. And I knew something was wrong, so I went to see my doctor, and I was diagnosed, and then the path came from there. The most common symptom with this health issue is urinary incontinence. And in general, women are familiar with urinary incontinence. It's pretty broad spectrum. We all see the big wall of products at the stores we go to. But women, they just assume it's part of the aging process, and they don't discuss it with their doctors, and it goes no further. And that's not the case. There's always a cause for urinary incontinence. So that's the most common symptom, but there's also urine retention where you can't get the pee to come out. There can be rectal, vaginal, back, or pelvic pain. There can be rectal or vaginal pressure, which is distinctly different from pain. Women can have chronic constipation, and I'm not talking about the once-in-a-blue-moon constipation. I'm talking about the all the time, every day, it never goes away type of constipation. Women can have, as I mentioned earlier, in the yikes pathway, that fecal incontinence issue, and that's something that hugely keeps us in the closet. Women are just not comfortable talking about fecal incontinence. It's too yikes. It's too embarrassing. It's too awkward for us. But there's also painful intercourse, and that, of course, rolls to relationship factor with this health issue. And there can be a lack of sexual sensation as well. Women that have used tampons their whole lives and all of a sudden those tampons just start pushing out on their own, that's a flag too. So women can have any combination of those symptoms or just a couple of them. It's going to vary from woman to woman.
So what causes this?
There are many causes for POP. The most common cause is vaginal childbirth, which tells you why this is such a common health issue. The more babies you have, the higher your risk factor. The second leading cause is menopause. So although we don't all have babies, we do, as women, all go through menopause at some point in our life. So we all have at least one hash mark on our chalkboard for risk factors. Heavy lifting is another cause for POP, and we right away think of job-related or weight training, but realistically, women that have babies lift heavy weight all the time. We're constantly picking up our babies for many different reasons. And if you have several children, that obviously compounds how much you're lifting that weight. If babies popped out with a little tag on their forehead saying, contract your PC muscle prior to picking me up, we might know about doing it. But they don't come out that way, and the doctors are not telling us to do that The PC muscle is a muscle that sits below the pelvic organs, which is like a support hammock to keep those organs up in that cavity. And that contraction is that sensation that you have when you stop the flow of pee. That is a PC muscle contraction. So that heavy lifting with babies is a big cause. Women that are runners or joggers, that constant downward pounding of those pelvic organs, that creates a risk factor. Women that are chronic coughers from different health issues, whether it's smoking or emphysema or allergies, that creates problems. There's a genetic risk factor. If your mom has had POP issues or you have a sister that's had POP issues, you're going to be predisposed to having them as well. There are some neuromuscular disease factors here. If you've got MS, if you have muscular dystrophy, Marfan's condition, Marfan's disease those are all health issues that can predispose you to POP. And realistically, for most women, it's not just one cause. There are several causes coming into play here. So when you talk about the heavy lifting factor, when you're in menopause and you have that drop in estrogen levels that you go through in menopause, that impacts your muscle tissue strength and integrity. And so when you're in menopause and now you're picking up your grandchildren, there's 2 hash marks for you right there. So there's a big variety of causes, and realistically, for most women, it's going to be a combination of causes.
How common is this?
Extremely common. There are millions of women in the world. Half of the women over the age of 50 have at least one type of POP. The problem is that they don't know it because this is not a commonly known health issue. So this is not an American women's health issue. It's a global women's health issue, and there are literally millions of women in the world that have this health issue. So getting the word out to women at a young age is important because as soon as women start having babies, there's a risk factor that they're going to have it. And I speak with women every single day that are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s that have this health issue. So it's not just a mature woman's health condition. It's a women's health condition.
Well, the question that comes to my mind is, why don't people know about this? I mean, this is the age of the Internet, and, if you have a symptom, normally you just get on there and Google your symptom. Exactly.
It comes back down to, again, first of all, the yikes factor. When women are having problems with particularly the urinary incontinence a little bit, but more so the fecal incontinence and the sexual pain and discomfort, and the lack of sexual sensation. Those type of symptoms women just are not talking about. And that seems crazy because as women, we deal with poop all the time. And we're cleaning up baby diapers and, cleaning up your pet messes and whatever. But this is so personal. It strikes at your core. And so when I was diagnosed, I asked my urogynecologist, how come women won't talk about this, or how come this isn't known? And she looked me right in the eye, and she said, Sherrie, women will not talk about this. I can't believe that. So it's the embarrassment factor, and when I do seminars, this is the aspect I get the biggest reaction to. Women, once they realize that there's someone else besides them that's having this sexual dysfunction and having this fecal incontinence issue, as well as urinary incontinence issues, once they realize it's not just them, they do start talking about it. So once the drum is banged loud enough and long enough, then it'll be more common knowledge. This should be being addressed by gynecologists and just traditional pelvic exams that women go through every year, but it's not being addressed, and it needs to be brought to the front burner here.
So what's the answer? Do you have to have surgery to fix the problem?
There are both surgical and non-surgical treatment options for this, and there's no right or wrong with which way to go with treatment. It's the right way to go if it's the right way for you individually. There's a variety. The type of surgery you have will be up to your physician, obviously, and I recommend that all women see a urogynecologist for this. That is the health specialist for this particular health issue. But non-surgically, there are many choices as well, and not just urogynecologists help with those treatments, but also physical therapists. There's, first and foremost, a pessary, which is a diaphragm-type device which is inserted into the vagina. You have to be fitted by a physician for that. There's an IncoStress, which is a product you can buy online. If you just have urinary incontinence issues, you can buy that product online, and it will support that bladder neck to prevent those leakage issues. There are Kegel exercises, that's a pretty commonly known term, Kegel. The problem with Kegels is most women don't do them properly. You have to do them properly. You have to do them consistently. You have to do it like you mean it. It's like if you go into a gym and you're going to exercise your biceps and you pick up a 2-pound dumbbell, it's not going to do much. You have to do it like you mean it. So when you're contracting, seriously contract. Don't just do it wussy. There are core strength exercising programs like Pilates or Pilates. Pilates is one that was designed by a doctor in Nevada, and that impacts, that has to do with not just the Pilates but also the pelvic floor for strengthening. There's hormone replacement therapy for women who are in menopause, because when estrogen levels drop, that muscle tissue strength and integrity does drop, and so by putting estrogen back into your body, that will help create some strength. And if women have cancer issues, well, then you can't dance down the estrogen path. But if you don't, you should be using some kind of hormone replacement therapy in menopause. Physical therapists often use biofeedback and electrical stimulation as techniques to reintroduce that PC muscle contraction to women who no longer recognize that sensation. Sometimes when you have babies, there's nerve damage down there, and you don't even know what that contraction sensation is like anymore. So they can help you get that sensation recognition back. And there's also support garments that women can wear, which are much more user-friendly than the old-school girdles that they used to have. If you have a job where you're standing all day, there can be a lot of back and pelvic pain with this health issue. And so when you have that structural support to your core that a support garment will give you, you'll be able to get through your workday much more easily. Women can use many different varieties of these treatment options, too. It's not just using just one. You'll use probably more than one if you're going the treatment pathway.
Who should buy this book and read it?
Realistically, I'd love to see women from childbirthing age on up reading this book, because once women recognize what the causes are as well as the symptoms are, they can change their lifestyle a little bit. If women knew about or, for example, just picking up the baby factor, if women knew that it's important to contract your PC muscle before you pick up heavy anything, especially babies, that may have some impact long-term on whether or not you get POP or what degree you get it. So this is not just a matter of, right now it's mostly, the attention is mostly coming from women who have been diagnosed with this health issue. But I feel this is something that women need to know about as soon as they start going in for pelvic exams. And so the younger the women are that pick up this book and start reading it, the sooner the awareness about this health issue will spread, and then hopefully we'll have fewer women that have to go in for surgical treatments down the road.
Time is getting very short, so the most important question, where can we buy this book?
I recommend people go to my website. There are many links on my website that you can access. That's SherriePalm.com. That's SherriePalm. And I have links on my Order This Book page to BarnesandNoble.com as well as Amazon.com to get the book. Realistically, you can go to any bookstore and go in and ask the proprietor if they have the book. If they don't, they will order it in for you as well. But to make it easy to order it online, you can go to my website. And I also have feeds on my website too. I've got a Twitter feed, a Facebook feed, a LinkedIn feed to get Monday through Friday. I send out clips about aspects of POP for women. And there's also a link to medhelp.org there. I am the community leader for the Urogynecology Forum. So women who have questions about POP that are too embarrassed to talk to their doctors, you can anonymously send a question into me at that forum, and I can address that health question for you.
This has been very enlightening. Our guest today has been Sherrie Palm, and Sherrie is the author of Pelvic Organ Prolapse, The Silent Epidemic. Sherrie, thanks very much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for letting me come on and speak my piece about POP, Don. I truly appreciate it.
This is Don McCauley wrapping up another edition of The Author Show. If you're an author or know an author, learn how you can help a publisher publish you by visiting helpapublisherpublishyou.com. Each week you receive a listing of publishers, small presses, and others who may be interested in publishing your work. This is a free service of The Author Show. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, visit www.theauthorshow.com, fill out the form, and we may be contacting you shortly. And if you're an author, don't forget to visit Book Marketing, the Authors Marketing Powerhouse, at www.theauthorsmarketingpowerhouse.com. We look forward to seeing you here next time on The Author Show.
Thank you for listening to The Author Show. To contact us about the show, call toll-free 1-877-955-8800. That's 1-877-955-8800. Or visit WNBNetworkWest.com. Tune in next time for another great author on The Author Show.